Hey everybody! All right, so let's talk about Prettier. How many of you folks have heard of Prettier? Raise your hand. Okay, just kidding. Everybody around you is like, why are you raising your hand? Okay, so this is Prettier, Prettier's website. It's pretty cool, pretty opinionated code formatter. Here, if we go to the try it out Prettier playground, then you can see you can make all kinds of changes to this code, and the formatted version will automatically fix all of this for you. I'm not going to go too far into like why we're why to use Prettier. It's like a pretty awesome thing to use, so I recommend that you check it out. This video is going to be about how to configure it and things. So I've got a project here, presumably with some JavaScript and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and install as a dev dependency Prettier. And with that installed in my dev dependencies, I can now use Prettier in my scripts. So let me just delete that, and we'll go format. And here I'll just say Prettier. And then with Prettier, we're gonna actually, here, let me add a git ignore node modules. I'm gonna add a source directory and an index.js, and here I'm gonna do oh, let me disable something really quick, otherwise we'll miss the effect. Okay, so I'm gonna console.log space hello space. You had coworkers that add spaces everywhere they possibly can. Yeah, this will fix that. Okay, so I'll say Prettier, and then we'll we want to match all. Actually, you know what? If I do which Prettier, you'll see I have that mapped to the local install of Prettier. I've got another video on YouTube somewhere like a year or two ago that shows you how I map this, so that I can just type Prettier and it will match anything that's in my bin, which is pretty cool. But you have to do that safely, otherwise you could open yourself up to pretty gnarly attacks. Okay, so here I can say Prettier help, and we're gonna get some interesting information. There's a bunch of formatting options. There are a couple output options. So here, if I say Prettier and just execute it, then it's going to execute the help. So I'm going to say Prettier source index, and it will format that with a built-in default format. If I want it to write, then I'm going to add a -- write here, and now it saved this with a format. So I can mess this up however I want, do all kinds of weird spacing and whatnot, save that, and then I Prettier write, and it will fix it all for me. It doesn't change anything how it works and things, but yeah, it'll automatically fix everything to make it look nice. So it's really nice because you don't have to think about it as much. So I'm not a huge fan of the built-in configuration though, so what I'm going to do is I'll add a Prettier RC. There's also Prettier config.js. I go with the RC just because it's not a very big object. So yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and steal my Prettier config from the developer kcd scripts, the source config Prettier RC. There we go. I'm gonna steal this. Cancel. And I'm gonna need to JSONify all this stuff. Okay, cool. Sweet. So now that has my preferred config. There are a couple other items in config. If we go to configuration options, so there's print width. That's what we've got configured there. That determines, and this is actually, like, lots of people will say, hey, why Prettier? Why don't you just use eslint -- fix? Well, this is the biggest reason, because eslint doesn't have a fix for the max width, and that's actually the trickiest part. And so prettier is really good at that. And so yeah, if I have a line that legitimately is like really long, and then I prettier that, then it knows how to reformat that, so I can still have my super long string, but it's formatted in a way that's not like that is as short as it can be without changing the behavior of the program. Okay, so then tab width. Yeah, I like 2 tabs or 2 spaces for my tabs. I'm just used to that. I'm pretty sure subjectively tabs are better than spaces, if I'm being completely honest. I can't think of why not, but yeah, I've been doing 2 spaces for my entire life. Even when I was in Java, like everybody was all 4 spaces, and I was like, no, that's too much, 2 spaces. And yeah, anyway, semicolons, I'm not a huge fan of semicolons, so my prettier config has them turned off. The cool thing about that is in the few cases where that actually can be a problem, like 1, 2, 3 for each, whatever. And then if I format this, then prettier is going to make it look like I'm accessing this element off of the console log. So prettier will reveal your bugs. And so what you can do is add a semicolon there, and then prettier is like, oh, okay, I'll make that formatted in a way that makes it appear like how it's supposed to be. Pretty sure we can get rid of those now, and here we'll leave them out. So prettier is not 100% it's not going to format the same AST the exact same every time. You notice I had these parentheses there. It's actually going to leave those there. And there's some other things, like it will change how it's formatted based off of the source format, which is kind of nice. But most of the time it's always going to be the same. Okay, quotes. I'm a fan of single quotes. So that's why I do single quotes. The default is double. And then trailing commas. How do you decide what the print width should be? I used to be really big into 120 for print width, but I decided that was just too long, and I switched to 80. That was in the last year or so. 80 is the default in prettier, and I think it looks a little bit better. I think the reason was when I started using prettier at 120, it would, this was earlier days too, but it would take lines that I didn't, like I thought were, like I'd formatted it nicely and I'd save it, and then it would like put more things on one line and just make all my lines really long. And so I realized, you know what, I don't actually like 120 lines. I actually like 80 lines or 80 characters for my max length. And so then I switched it. So do I use the VS Code plugin? That's coming later, Robin, coming later. Okay, cool. So trailing commas, I'm a big fan of trailing commas. It makes it nicer with Git, and so that's why you see a trailing comma there. That's actually a feature in the that is maybe not implemented in the browsers yet. Here, let's see. Yeah, it works in the browser, but it's not going to work in like Internet Explorer or something to have a trailing comma on a function call. It does work to have a trailing comma on an array like this. So I can have a trailing comma or in an object. I'm pretty sure Internet Explorer is okay with that. But in any case, I use Babel in like 100% of my projects, so I don't really worry about it. Babel will remove that. So, okay, bracket spacing. I am a fan of no spacing in brackets in my import statements and in object literals and things. So I'm fine with either because my coworkers at PayPal like the bracket spacing. So work projects, this is set to true, but in my own stuff, I don't like spacing around the bracket. JSX. So yeah, let's see. Oh right, this is just weird. Don't do this. Like, is this an attribute or is this children? No, much more clear. So I'm not even sure why that's an option, because I think that's like yuck. And then arrow function parentheses. So I prefer if there's only one argument, then exclude the parentheses, and it's nice. Prettier will remove that. So if I do hi and then just return hi or something, then I write that and it'll remove those parentheses for me, which is nice. If there are 2 arguments and I say hi and whoops and index, and then it's going to keep those because it's required. And if there are no arguments, then it will keep the parentheses also because that's required. Range, so this is more for like tools that are going to use the CLI. Parser, also wouldn't worry about that. That's more for tools that are using the CLI. I guess flow, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, you shouldn't have to change this setting. Yeah, so you even like between Babylon and Flow, I'm not sure why they're different because they both support the same features. Weird. So yeah, you don't ever really touch the parser thing. File path. Yeah, so you can actually use standard in, which is interesting. Require pragma. That's interesting. Don't do that. Yeah, just format all the things. Prose wrap. Okay, so this one's cool. So I only recently discovered prose wrap as an added feature, but this is for Markdown files specifically. So that's why it's not in my thing because I haven't used it before. But yeah, hey, this is cool. VS Code is telling me what the options. So I say always. Normally not a problem, but I generally like it so that I can read this thing in my editor without scrolling and without turning on the auto wrap because auto wrap never works really well for me. So that's what I configure that to. Okay, cool. So that's configuration. And yeah, you can have multiple configuration files. You can use YAML if that's your thing, or a JSON file, or even a JavaScript file, or prettier key in your package JSON. And yeah, there's not too much interesting there. Then there's editor integration, which I had a tab open for that, just to remind me. So there's a prettier atom package. There are alternatives as well, but for Emacs, I don't, yeah, Emacs. For Vim, yeah, have fun with that. VS Code, this is what I'm using. I used to use Atom. I liked Atom. I'm not going to get into why I switched. Please don't ask me. I'm pretty sure I answered that on my AMA, and if I haven't, because I wanted to. Okay, so here I've got my extensions. Actually, if you go to kcd.im VS Code, then that will take you to a list of all of my extensions that I have installed and my configuration, updated fairly recently. Maybe I'll update it after this. But here we have Prettier by Espen Peterson. And this is the official one. And the way that you enable it is editor format on save. So that's all you do. So I'll go back here, enable format on save to true. And then, and then actually you can also set prettier rules that are like default rules. Oops. And so like if prettier is not configured, then these are the rules that should apply. Pretty cool. And so now if with that enabled, if I do weird spacing things and hit save, then it'll automatically reformat. Save. Ta-da. Nice, right? Thank you, Prettier. And like that is just insanely helpful to be able to automatically format things on save, because I will like copy things around, I'll refactor and move things all over the place, and the code looks ugly. I hit save and magic happens. It's so great. Oh, hey, thanks, Sebastian. That was nice. Let's see. So I am getting some questions and things. Robin is saying, if you have any questions, problems with VS Code plugin, I'm one of the maintainers. Thank you so much, Robin. You're great. Thanks, Robin. I love it. It's been awesome. With regard to print width, do you set a vertical ruler to be the same value? I assume that would be advisable, a vertical ruler. Oh, right, this thing. Yes, I do. Because, so he's just asking, do you set this vertical ruler to be the same value as your prettier setting? Yep, that's what I do. And in fact, I don't know if there is one, but if you don't have like 80 as your set and like you have different projects that have different widths and whatever, it might be cool to have a plugin that would read the prettier config and set the vertical to whatever the prettier config is. That'd be cool. Okay, and I have prettier settings inside my eslint RC. That considered bad practice. Only use that config for JS files. Other file types have defaults. Bam! Hey, thanks, Anthony. Wow, people are being so nice. Thank you. Okay, so with prettier or with eslint, to address Rook's question, and Danco95BGD about eslint, that's kind of what I was going to get into next. So I'm guessing that Rook is referring to maybe prettier eslint. Well, no, prettier. So okay, so prettier. When prettier came out, I was like, sweet, this is so awesome. But at the time, it didn't support semicolon option, and so it could only do like adding semicolons. And I was like, no, that's not great. So let's see. Let me see if I can find the issue that I filed originally. I think somebody filed it early on. Here, let me see, because I have a video that that shows why I created prettier eslint. There and closed. Nope. Was it probably an Atom? Yeah, Atom eslint GitHub. Linter eslint. There we go. There is add prettier support. Here we go. So this is, I was like, hey, so what I did was I'll just enable prettier, and then I'll also do eslint fix, and so I can have prettier do its thing, and then have eslint do its fix thing. And this is what happened. I would make changes, and then I'd save, and you'd see like a little flash of semicolons until eslint was able to fix it. And the reason for that was because eslint does not, in Atom at least, eslint waited for the file to be saved, and then it would read the file, and then it would update the file. It couldn't like make changes to what it was, like it couldn't make changes to the current buffer. It had to wait for the file to be saved. And so you'd get this flash, and I didn't want to live with that. That was like super duper annoying. And so I built prettier eslint Atom, which would apply prettier and then eslint like on the same buffer string, and it worked pretty well. And that's when I decided to create prettier eslint, because I didn't want to have to configure prettier and eslint. I wanted to say, take my eslint configuration and configure prettier with that, and then it would apply prettier on that code, and then eslint fix. So that's what this thing was. It's pretty cool, fun idea. And then when prettier supported semicolons, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'll just do whatever prettier does. And so I dropped the project, and now the Zimi guy has taken over it. And that's what I would recommend. Don't use prettier eslint. I just think it's slower, and your tools have to support it. We did get support in the prettier extension for eslint. Let's see if I can find the yeah, here we go. Prettier eslint integration. Use prettier eslint instead of prettier. So yeah, there's that. So if you want to, you can, and most like the Atom plugin also supports prettier eslint, but I just recommend don't use it. Instead, use eslint config prettier. So what this does is, here, let's go ahead and install eslint, and eslint, or we'll here, save dev eslint, and we'll make our configuration 2 eslint rc, and here we'll make an object in JSON that is has rules, and we'll I don't know, have a rule for semi is error. Okay, cool. So now this is requiring semicolons. And if maybe I'll have to reload. Whoa, for some reason my computer just started going very slow. Okay. So eslint should be giving me some trouble. Eslint. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So you get a little thing here, say unexpected token. Oh. Oh, I have to set the version, which is like kind of annoying. Let's see, ECMA features. Sure. Okay, eslint config. See, I don't normally do this because I have this eslint config can't see DOS, and so I don't have to worry about it. I just install that and it works everywhere. And this is why, well, okay, so if I go to here, ES6, non-rules config, Parser option, that's what I'm looking for. And this needs to be JSONified. Oops. There we go. Okay, cool. So with that, great. So I hit save and I'm getting a semicolon added there, and that's because I have eslint installed. And so yeah, in VS Code, maybe that's less of a problem. Prettier eslint doesn't really matter. But yeah, so we have this conflict here. And so when I'm just going along typing and stuff, it's all great, but I have all these red things happening for stuff that's going to be automatically fixed when I save the file anyway, and that's super annoying to me. Like having a red mark while I'm typing and making changes that I don't actually have to address, like it's saying, hey, you need to address me, and it says, no, you don't. I don't actually have to address this thing. That's what bothers me. And so that's one of the reasons that I use the eslint config prettier, is it takes all of the rules from my config and it disables all the ones that prettier makes unnecessary. So I can go plugins, and here we'll do prettier. And with that, now I can remove that and no errors going on, and prettier will fix it. And actually now, because my eslint and prettier aren't in conflict anymore, that actually isn't a violation. Even if I add the semicolon, then I save it and prettier will fix it, and I don't have to worry about having errors happen wherever I have like code that's going to be fixed for me anyway. So huge fan of eslint config prettier. Definitely enable that. Cool. So we have eslint, we have eslint config prettier, and yeah, I guess there are some things that eslint can fix that prettier cannot. But in general, I just kind of rely on my editor stuff. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. I think maybe I have var equals 1 or 1 equals 1, and then I console log 1, and then I say var or refer const for. Okay, so now right, for const, I'm not sure what the options are here. Here, let's go eslint rules for maybe I need the env to ES6. B ES6 true. Okay, and then prefer const will set to error. To be error. Reload. Okay, and eslint source index. Did not find plugin prettier. What? Oh. Ah, that's a problem. Whoops. Nobody called me out on it. So this is actually not a plugin. This is a configuration that should be extends. I'm not sure why why that actually worked before. Okay. Semicolon. What? Ends. Eslint. Big. Here. Reload this one more time. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll eslint that thing. It should work. And then when I save, it should remove the semicolons, but there we go. Ah! And now eslint is like, hey, you're missing a semicolon. Yeah, y'all are seeing this at like a 15-second delay. Sorry. You see that flashing going on there? That is so weird. Extends prettier. It worked when I had it as a plugin, but it's not a plugin. What? Eslint config here. Oh, right. Sorry. I know what's going on. What's happening? What's happening is I have this extends the plugin, and then like when you have extends and then you specify rules, it's actually going to like the rules that you specify when in a like a battle between whether the extends option takes or your rules take. So that's why this is happening. So yeah, this only is really useful if you're extending other configurations that you want to override. Okay. So we're going to get rid of the semi here, and now I save, and now everything's working great. Okay. Okay, so this is, oh, and I should probably address the plugin. So there's an eslint plugin prettier, and what eslint plugin prettier is doing, so you have the config that disables all the rules. What eslint plugin prettier does is it actually has rules for all of prettier's capabilities. So you could technically use just eslint and this plugin, and presumably it should work, but I don't really trust it entirely. I think technically all the things are supposed to be fixable, so it should technically all work, but I'm not sure. I kind of like prettier, but okay, sweet. So the autofix isn't happening for this var, and it's not linting against the var, which is, I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that eslint is capable of fixing this, and so, whoops. So you might want to have like a auto fix too, but I don't really worry about that. Yeah, let people fix the eslint errors as they come, because there normally are not very many things that eslint can fix that prettier doesn't care of anyway. Okay, cool. So that's eslint integration. You have the config, and then you extend that config. And now that I've got this all working, this is all you need. Cool. So the next thing, eslint, or let's actually fix our format thing here. Prettier is capable of formatting a bunch of files at once and a lot of different file types. Let's see the file types it supports. Yeah, tons of stuff, and even stuff within those files. So like styled components is a string within JavaScript, and it can format that too. And GraphQL queries and stuff, it'll format those. So it's pretty smart. It's working. They're working on formatting other languages entirely, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and actually Reason has something similar to Prettier called Reason Format, which is like built in. Go has the same thing as Go format. So let's see. Let's go ahead and we'll have this format all of our source files. So I'm going to add a glob. So we're going to say source ***.js, but we want it to do or Markdown or TypeScript, I guess, for those of you TypeScript folk, and CSS and Sass and whatever else, like a whole bunch of other things. Less and I know some folks like JSX. I think that's silly, so I don't do JSX. There's also GraphQL and YAML, and a bunch of others. I'm not sure whether we can get a good list of those. Language support, here we go. We got TypeScript, CSS less, SCSS, SCS. Vue, I don't know what's the extension for Vue. I guess they also have it. They don't have HTML. They do have Vue. I don't know anything about like Vue files. Does it end in vue.js or end in .vue? I don't know how Vue works. Oh yeah, JSON. Thank you, Rook. JSON. It looks like it's HTML. Let's see, Vue file extension. Single file components. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, .vue. Okay, that's what I thought. Cool. Clearly, I haven't done much with Vue. And I think we've got them all. So that's pretty much it. And Prettier will determine which formatter to use for each one of these files, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and HTML support for Prettier is currently an open issue on the main repo. Thank you, Andrew. Cool. Okay, so all right. So let's we can now run npm. Oh, and we'll want to have the right here as well. So npm run format, and it will format all the stuff. No matching files. Boo. I don't know how to do globs. Wait a second. Okay, hold on a sec. I've got a glob in desktop or nope, developer, ACD scripts, source, config, lintstaged. Oh, plus. Go. That's a spoiler. Don't look at that. Okay, cool. Now we run the format script again, and it'll format all the things. We might also want it to format like everything in our repo. So like if we had a README, add readme.md, set up Prettier, just an example of how to set up here in your project. I'm gonna add a couple things here. Oh, auto formats. Yeah, here we'll do Vim README because I don't have Vim configured with Prettier. I can go to lines here. There we go. See, bunch of lines. And then I run the format script and it'll automatically format. Oh, I gotta update this. Save that. Now I run it. And this will actually also format my package.json, which is a problem. So let me show you why this can be a problem. Hi, as a keyword, then I run format again, and it's gonna format my package.json. Oh, well, that's a bug that's been fixed. Great. So what used to happen is it would format this like this, or it would leave it like that, and that was super annoying because whenever you'd run like npm init again, or if you'd run npm install, then it would format this again as regular JSON. And so what I was going to show you is how to make a prettier ignore dot. And then that works just like your git ignore, and I had a package.json in there. But it looks like that was considered a bug and it's been fixed, so you don't have to do that anymore. Awesome. So cool, don't worry about that. But if you do have things that you want to ignore, like actually I'm gonna add that anyway. Prettier ignore, and you'll put things like dist, and it automatically excludes node modules, but I'm just gonna do that as well. Coverage, and yeah, whatever you want to have ignored, like build, whatever. I will do build. So that's always a good one to have in your pocket when you're working with Prettier. Okay, so here we're getting toward the end of what I was of what I'm going to show you, and the end is not everybody's going to have Prettier installed in their editor. You can't make them, and that's great, especially when you're doing open source project stuff, or like you have an open source project, you want contributors and stuff. You don't want to have to nitpick them on a bunch of stuff, or you also don't want to have to go back in and fix things after you've merged their pull requests and stuff. That'd be super annoying. And so what we do is we set up a Git hook so that as soon as people install the dependencies and stuff, a Git hook is established. Now, I'm not sure why Git isn't showing up in here. Dot file. Dude, what's the command? Somebody tell me the command to show my dot files in here, because I want to see my Git directory. But yeah, so if we look at Git hooks and pre-commit, there's a sample hook in here. So the Git hooks directory has a bunch of files that are just scripts, bash scripts here, shell scripts here. There are some samples. If you take off the sample, then it'll actually run that at that time. So when you apply a patch, or like with a message, or the commit message, or post update, or in our case, pre-commit, that's the one we're going to be using. So these are really cool little scripts that you can have that run at those times, but they are not shared in the Git repo. So they're not available for when you want to publish or like have all of your teammates use those. And so what we're going to do, like for our case, we want to automatically format all of the files that we're changing when we're committing, so that we don't have to worry about running the format script before we commit, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to npm install as a dev dependency husky, and husky is a sweet little package that automatically creates Git hooks. You can see that as a post install script. It runs this install thing, says husky is setting up Git hooks, and it's done. So now if we look at Git hooks, now there are a whole bunch of new scripts in here. And so we have a pre-commit, and this is what husky does. And you can go look at that later, but what it means is we can now say pre-commit, and we can say npm run format and git add all that stuff. This is not our final version. But if I go ahead and git add stuff, and then I commit all the things, then it's going to run my pre-commit hook, which is going to format and then re-add things, and then recommit those things. So let's take a look at, here, I'm going to disable my plugin to simulate somebody who does not have this installed. So you have a contributor come in and they format it kind of funny. Then you say, oh, okay, and then they go to commit things with bad formatting, and they're like, I'm just so happy I'm committing to open source. This is great. And they don't even know that their commit, actually, whoops, git log, that they didn't actually commit anything or make any real changes because it was automatically formatted. cdef. Yeah, it didn't actually commit anything valuable, because here, let's make that more useful. So we're going to say hello, and there we go. Now I'll do that again with bad formatting, and it'll automatically format and commit the changes with the format. So now if we look at, we have that change without their bad formatting. Okay, cool. So that is that's one thing, but this has a and this is really cool, right? But this has a problem because it's adding the entire project for every single commit. So you can only have like you can't just stage certain files and commit just those with what we have now. So and in addition, it's running prettier on all of our code base, and that could take some time. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another dependency, install as a dev dependency lintstaged. And what this does is it provides you a binary that will run some scripts for all of the files that have changed. And you can say for files that are changing that match this or that are staged, about ready to be committed for that match this pattern or whatever, I want you to run these scripts. So I'm going to make a new file called lintstaged.config.js. And here we'll module that exports this object. And the object, here, let me go back up. It was a while back. I catted something. Oh. I don't want to have to look for it, but maybe I should. There it is. I'm just going to copy this. I'll get rid of a couple things. Okay. Sweet. So with lintstaged, you have these linters, and this is an object of globs, and those globs match things that you want to do for certain operations. So let me copy this and paste it in here. Sweet. So for all files matching that, we're going to let me just delete and get rid of this. Okay. So when I'm committing, if there are any files that match this, then I want you to run this for all the files. And that is going to be prettier right. And it will run prettier right against, and then it'll have file 1, file 2, file 3. That's how it's actually going to be run. But all that we need to do is this, and then it will run that plus all the files that are being changed that are relevant for our situation. So after prettier right, we want to git add all those files again so that the formatted changes are added to the commit. And now I can git add that, and let me just git commit stuff. And this is lintstaged. Oh, whoops. Git commit all the things with stuff. And it's, oh, whoops. That is almost perfect. So now prettier pre-commit now just needs to be lintstaged. And now if we git commit all the stuff, then it's going to run lintstaged. You'll see this fancy little spinner thing that runs prettier right. And so now if I go here to my source file and make a change, we'll remove that and format it funny. And then I commit add more bad formatted stuff. Then this is going to get automatically formatted by lintstaged. Lintstaged will say, hey, prettier, here's a file that is going to be committed. And prettier will be like, sweet, let me change it real quick. And then we say, hey, git, add this thing to the commit. And it's like, sweet, okay, I'll add it. And then it gets added with the formatted version. So we'll get cdiff head, and we got that. By the way, I've got an alias for that cdiff thing. Let me show you. You just find git config that cdiff. This is what my alias for cdiff is. So pause the video and you can copy that if you like the cdiff thing. It's kind of cool. It's basically a shortcut for git diff head. So it's like, yeah, kind of fancy. Yeah, so that is what, and we could also do a eslint fix. So if you wanted to toss that in there. And then I also, in my project, I have just find related tests, I think. Find related tests. And so then it'll only run the tests that are relevant for that, but we don't have jest, so. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. This was a long one today. I knew it was going to be long. But I literally had a dream about this last night. I was at a meetup, and they just asked me to go up and talk about anything, and I said okay. And somebody mentioned something about using a webpack plugin for prettier, and I said there is a webpack plugin. There's a webpack loader for it too. And there are some good arguments, I guess. I just read up on it, looking at the projects. And there are some good arguments for it, but like mostly you can't make everybody have a editor plugin, and if you use a pre-commit hook, then I can't remember what their arguments against that was. But that's like what I do. I like the pre-commit hook. But yeah, so their argument, that it was because if you use the pre-commit hook, then those who don't have the editor plugin installed do not get the automatic like save and things are formatted for you. And I'm kind of like, yeah, that's right, tough. If you don't want to install the plugin into your editor, then yeah, you're not going to get that. I almost see that as a feature. If you don't like it, then you just remove it. So anyway, so people were like, hey, yeah, so how do you configure Prettier? And I basically, this is what inspired me to do this today. So I got a question from Tony. How do you prettyify the entire code base for the first time? Oh, that's a good question. So like, you've got a code base of 100,000 or like 150,000 lines of code or something. How do you prettyify the whole thing? What I did, I think our code base was like, I don't know, 80,000 lines of code or something. What I did was the nuclear option. I just said, hey, everybody, we're going to do this prettier thing. And we all agreed and stuff. It took a little convincing, to be honest. That's part of the reason why I made prettier eslint as well, is because they kind of clung on to their old ways. And so prettier eslint was an option, I guess. But yeah, now we're all using prettier and it's great. So I said, okay, so let's merge all the open pull requests. Don't make any more. But of course they did, and I had to update stuff. It was kind of a nightmare. And I nucleared everything, and everybody had terrible merge conflicts until that thing was merged, and it was kind of a nightmare. I have heard there's a prettier git history something. Yeah, here we go. It was on Medium. Kind of nuts. I didn't read this thing, but I'm pretty sure what happened, or how this works, was they went all the way back to the start of the Git repo, and they ran prettier on that, and then prettier on the next commit, next commit, next commit. It was just automated, of course, and like updated every single commit to be prettiered. So this is presuming that every commit was like the syntax was correct and everything. Then that would work. But yeah, that was nuts. So you can just Google this, reformatting your code using prettier or eslint without destroying Git history. I think that's what they did. Kind of nuts. But what extra steps do you need to take to enable TypeScript support? Nothing. Just have it on TypeScript, and it will work. It's pretty cool. Prettier cool. Ha. Yeah, so git amend or git commit add eslint fix. Eslint fix. Thanks, Chris. That was nice. Okay, sweet. So that's it for me. I'm gonna push this, and I do in fact have this repo available. If I refresh here, and I'm gonna add KCD edu. That's how you can find my education repo, KCD edu. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you're all doing awesome and have a great day, and I will see you all around next time. Peace.